House of the Dragon, ladies and gentlemen, is finally over. So, we've got thoughts. As with most things, we do have thoughts in regards to the end of House of the Dragon. I feel as though, and it's probably going to be in the title for this video, I'm not sure. Have you ever heard the saying, all flash, no substance? I think that this finale is the reverse of that saying. This was all substance, no flash. Like, it's almost as if, and it wasn't even, I shouldn't even really say it's almost as if because it actually is. There was 70% setup, 30% resolution. This felt like a mid-season finale. It felt like we had just watched 8 episodes to the mid-season, and then this episode essentially sets up what the latter half of the season is going to be, which is just all-out brutality and war. And I don't think this was the right narrative direction. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the journey that Daemon Targaryen has been on this season, which essentially they locked him away in Harrenhal, or as I like to call it, Luigi's mansion, to let him sort out the mental situation that he had basically found himself in, where it's like, do you or won't you kill your wife to take the crown? Is this something that you actually want, or is it something that you don't want? Figure out what it is that you want to do with your life. So the therapy session that he goes on in Harrenhal is Resolve, where we see him work through all of these past situations dealing with himself. And I think it was the culmination of him seeing his brother mourning his son, but at the same time mourning his wife, where he loved his wife to the ends of the earth, but he sacrificed his wife to save his son. And then he still lost his son, but then had to also live with the guilt of the fact that he essentially killed his wife, and that Daemon wasn't there, that Viserys had to mourn and cry basically alone by himself. I think it was the realization of what Viserys had essentially went through, and also the confrontations he was dealing with younger Rhaenyra, that made him realize that I don't want the throne. Like, I keep running around hoping that people are going to notice me, when in truth I never needed that in any way, shape, or form. What I needed was validation. I wanted validation from Rhaenyra. I wanted validation from my mother that I never really got to know, and I wanted validation from my brother. And I've just essentially been lashing out. And it's him coming to terms with that. And I like the fact that he came to terms with that before that traitorous asshole who's a member of Rhaenyra's small council came to Harrenhal. And he kind of realized that, if you had made this, if you had made this deal with me maybe around 3 weeks ago, I would be on board. But 3 weeks of being in this spooky ass place, it made me realize that that is not something that I want in any way, shape, or form. And he basically rebukes it. Kneels before Rhaenyra, says that she is the one true queen, and he is to serve her. Love it. The cap on that entire arc done, which means that opens up Daemon next season to basically be running around the Riverlands, beating the ever loving shit out of the Green Army until his fateful battle with Aemon Targaryen, where if you haven't read the book, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is a fateful battle. Rhaenyra essentially getting her dragon seeds, and then also kind of realizing that while this was the right move, this may not be the right people, which piggybacks on what Jace has essentially been feeling, which I love the fact that he also kind of went through a character arc that was resolved, where he realized that he was kind of throwing a tantrum and being a kid, because he is a kid. He's like 16, 17 years old, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he realizes that where he's supposed to be is right next to his mother, ruling the Seven Kingdoms. I love that resolution that they essentially came to terms with, basically. That's great. Everyone got resolution, but nothing flashy happened. I guess the closest flashiest thing that happened was Tyland going over to Essos. Finally, they gave the people of Essos the colors in their hair, and they're more bombastic. The bombastic side eye, and the jovial attitude that they have in the books. I love the fact that we finally got to see it on screen. It kind of makes me wish that Dario Naharis version 1 had the blue hair, even though I didn't really care for Dario Naharis number 2, even though that's my man from Orphan Black, and I actually like him as Cal in Orphan Black. But his thing was the closest that we got to a little bit of Flash, but at the exact same time, the tone for that trip was so much more different than the tone of the rest of the episode that I kind of feel as though it took away a little bit from the story that was essentially attempting to be told. I don't know if they had to like tone down the tone or maybe remove that and put it at the beginning of next season, but his entire thing was fucking hilarious, which was completely different narratively from the more somber attitude of everybody else. I love that Alicent has had her come to Jesus moment where she goes running to Rhaenyra the same way Rhaenyra came running to her to basically end the war. And I love that it's the reverse of what she told Rhaenyra, where it's too late. The die has literally already been cast. Aemon is flying around, burning down entire cities that raise the banners for Rhaenyra to the ground. I don't know narratively. I guess narratively, you could say that there's going to be a level of sabotage, but at the exact same time, I don't know how narratively you're going to work in the small folk hating Rhaenyra all of a sudden when she's done so much for them over the last few episodes, where she's been sending them food even though she's had the blockade. She's been assisting them in any way, shape, or form that she can. They've started cheering her. In the books, they basically turn on her, and it leads to the whole storming of the dragon pit and everything along those lines. So I don't know how you're going to narratively change that. I'm really hoping that we don't end up with the Daenerys whiplash, where season 8 was just like, and evil, without any build up or crescendo in any way, shape, or form. It was just like, flip a switch, she's a villain now, congratulations. I'm hoping that is not the direction that we're going in, but at the exact same time, um, with the way in which they've set up Rhaenyra to be this likable monarch that everybody really wants to come back because she's been the only one helping the small folk, while Aemond and Aegon have basically been chastising them and suffocating them. How you're going to flip it, I really feel as though the flip is going to come in the form of Hugh Hammer. I think they're going to take the he's going to become a champion of the peasants, and he's going to try and proclaim himself king, or as like, the peasant king, and he's going to be the one who raises the revolt, and it's going to be his revolt that crashes into the side of Rhaenyra and ends up completely fucking the dragons until Daenerys comes back in the future with her 3 dragons. Um Talking about Daenerys, she's gonna need her own video because that's like a 7 to 10 minute long tangent that I'm gonna have to go on talking about that. And then talking about Helena, she's also going to need her own video because there is a like 7 to minute long discussion that needs to be happen on Rhaenyra. I liked this finale, even though it did not feel like a finale. It felt very much more like a setup for the next season. But at the exact same time, I'm willing to take a step back and look at it and say that this was probably the weakest finale we've received in regards to Game of Thrones in a really, really long time. Not weak narratively, but I'm talking about weak as a finale. Like, we're used to finales having like these big battles or big situations or big resolutions that essentially occur. None of that happened. Everything was most of the I said like I said 30% of the threads were basically completed in this finale, but then about 70% more were just open and left wandering. And we're basically left sitting around waiting until next season to come back to basically catch up and start all of the dope shit that we know we're gonna start. The Battle of Tumbleton, the first battle of I forgot the name of the city, the second battle of that city, the battle over the God's Eye, the entire character arc between Aemon and the witch chick whose name I'm completely forgetting, who's basically been moving Daemon along, the Helena with Dreamfire, Bela with Sheep Stealer, just stuff just out there that we're going to have to circle back to and see exactly how it essentially wraps up. But let me know what you guys thought about the ending for House of the Dragon. Comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.